welcome to Sal's Hoop Eds. Great to have your company as always. Massive show, 6 rounds down. We're heading into the penultimate round. Tall Blacks not too far away from tipping off in the World Cup. Huge injury news, ramifications on the Final Four, maybe. And Mikayla Cowling, our special guest from the Fire. But right now, you lovely three are with us, as always. Welcome.
Man, the intros have gotten so much friendlier since Crystal joined us. Just so much friendlier.
It's like I brought her to a HR meeting. Like emotional support person.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Crystal.
The Kahu are scoring in big numbers at the moment, Crystal.
Yep.
You can't even get on the stats as like the fourth leading scorer. Like there's like 3 leading scorers. You got Amari, Tara, and Tess, and it's like like that must be so fun for you.
You've shuffled down the list.
Hey, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, I don't mind sharing. I don't mind moving over for my teammates to score the ball.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few teammates scoring the ball in that team, let me tell you. Hey, some massive injury news, Casey, that has come out in the last 24 hours. First of all, let's head down to the mainland, Pouakai. I saw Natasha Mack play last week. She definitely looked like she was injured. That's the news. She's gone. She won't be playing for the rest of the season. And they are bringing in Australian stalwart Natalie Burton.
Yeah, impressive. I don't know a bunch about Natalie. Hopefully you can give us a bit more of a scouting report on that. Ashley Tauihi as well is coming into that spot. But, when you looked at what the Pouakai were doing this year, I think at times Natasha Mack was their weak link on the interior. She wasn't producing to the level, especially I think with that interior presence in terms of scoring and rebounding, defending the rim. What we thought she was going to bring, she wasn't able to. Changing her out at this point, always unfortunate to give that turbulence to the lineup. But sometimes a change needs to be made, and this may just be what that offense needs to kickstart itself.
Miles, Nat Burton, 34-year-old Australian out of Perth, West Virginia, I think, about 120 games through her collegiate career. Long time in WNBL in Australia. Now the assistant coach of the Perth Lynx in the WNBL. Hasn't played in that competition since 2020.
So how much impact will she have? You've got 3 games remaining. You've got Ash Tauihi coming back and coming into the Pouakai as well. So at least she's an assistant coach. So that just helps with the 34-year-old being a veteran head and having the ability just to help control things and know what's required. Rather than bring someone young and fresh in who's like reading the playbook and not really understanding.
And that will help.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we had a really tight game with them and they kind of went through some ups and downs in that game. And I think having both Ash Tauihi and Nat there with a lot of experience can help them, not get down so low in those lows and kind of keep them level-headed in those moments.
But that's not the only injury news. This one has absolutely come from left field. Had a massive game last week. Maya Dodson out for the season with a fracture, we believe, of the heel.
Very disappointing, I think, for the Queens. She was a player that they were extremely excited to have in. Her athleticism and her interior presence has really provided great dividends at times. And the Queens are a team that's an interesting time because they've had these little stutter steps, especially offensively, where they haven't really been able to find that flow offensively. And now they're going to have to bring in another player and try and basically start all over again. Going to be difficult, but they are a talented team, the defending champions. If anybody can do it, they can.
I can't say anything yet. I don't know whether you've heard anything, but the Queens are working very, very hard behind the scenes at the moment, and I believe somebody will be arriving for Thursday night's game.
Secrets once again from Justin.
Right.
I love Justin's secrets.
Let's have a look at the round 6 results as we move right along from the injury news. And Tauihi have had the number on the Queens. Got them all 3 times this season. Quite amazing. Look at the Kahu with those back-to-back 100-point games. And in between all of that, the Queens took down the Pouakai in what was a very good contest. Let's pick it apart. What is it about the Tauihi over the reigning champs, Moles?
Oh, yeah, well, that's a very good question. I think Ashton Prechtel has just found her niche in that key way. But Elise Hurst, we saw her limp off with a leg injury that looked like she was at least a week, not 2. But she's just strapped it up and balled out.
Yeah, quite amazing.
It's incredible, eh?
Well, when I look at that matchup, it's what they do defensively to the import trio. Held that really talented import trio to 26 points total in that game. And when you're shutting down the offensive power of Kristlyn Carr, of Maya Dodson, when you're keeping those kind of players down to that level, that's going to make winning a lot easier.
A couple of big signs in this game. Paris Lokatui, career game for her, breakout 17 and 8. Paige Bradley, we've said it before on this show, just continues to fly under the radar.
Yeah, no, she's such a smart player. I mean, any point guards out there wanting to see how to become a complete point guard, she's the one to watch.
Let's go to the Phi and the Kahu. Impressive.
Yeah, I don't know. What's in the Kool-Aid? What are you drinking? What are the Northern BNZ Kahu drinking?
Well,
we're drinking our line.
Hey, you're right. There we go.
Well, Tess Madgen was a big in.
Yep. Yeah, she was massive for us. I mean, came in right away, had a great game across the board. But yeah, as I've been saying, it's not just what she does on the court, it's all those little things she brings off it, her professionalism and leadership that she brings to our team.
Jodie would have been happy with the 74, really angry at the 90. That the Pouakai, right?
Yeah, no, we definitely had some defensive lapses in that game, and yeah, there's some things that we need to tidy up, and we've been working on it training already.
Can I just have a chat about Tara Reid in that game against the Phi? We know that she's headed to the WNBL in Australia. She has been a delight to watch this season.
Yeah, her game, like, she's the ultimate competitor in my eyes, but she's doing everything that's required, and she just brings an edge for you guys that, you know, sometimes I think Tauihi it doesn't quite have the edge to it, but she's got this edge where she's super, super competitive. You're all competitive, but she's happy to tell you how competitive she is when you're the opposition.
Yeah, no, and when you're her teammates, I mean, she'll hold us accountable and she brings us up to a great standard. But yeah, Tera's a great get for us. I mean, she can fill that guard spot and take the big position too, so she can go both ways. And yeah, she's really doing it all for us.
Game has blossomed since she went overseas, played in Finland, has learned how to become an import, had that pressure put on her, and has brought back a much more polished game on the offensive end. She's got a myriad of ways to score, not just from behind the arc, but driving. She can score on the interior as well. So great to see her game improve to this level.
Let's go to the Queens and the Pouakai. Queens needing a win. They got fixed up by the Hoi Hoi, headed back home. They're a different team at home. We've seen it a couple of times already this season. They took the Kahu down by 4 in their previous home game. This game really opened up in the third quarter, and Chrislyn Carr did it again. Once she started motoring up, it became really hard for the Pouakai. Although I must say, Jasmine Dickey did everything she possibly could to keep her team in this one.
You just look at that box score, how many weapons the Queens have. Excuse me. Stella Beck, though, as well, almost flirting with a triple-double. I mean, when you've got your fourth best performance on the team in the score box, and she's flirting with that triple-double, you know you've just got the ball zinging around the floor and making it work, and everyone's on the same page.
Standout performance from Stella Beck.
Yeah, and it's great to see her come back in and fit in so well. For me, it's her ability as a connector on that team to be that sort of extra pass, get the hockey assist, so to speak, that gets that offense flowing. And when they look their best, I think they're sharing it a little bit more. Still a team that's a little bit too dependent on one-on-one basketball and in scoring in isolation. Then I think that's why at times it can dry out for them. But when they're humming, man, it's impressive.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to stop those two guards. And yeah, I'm really interested to see who this last import they bring in will be and what difference that will make. Because, yeah, I think in the games that Queens have dropped, Maya Dodson went a little bit quiet for them.
Can I just add to that whole conversation about the Queens? I never said it was an import.
Another
I never said
plot twist.
I never said it wasn't either, by the way.
Is this like a Scooby? Are we going to pull a mask off? I don't know, man. Scooby-Doo moment here.
Just quickly on the Pouakai, of course, Natasha Mack didn't play the second half of that game, and we know the result of that injury now. But young Lauren Whitaker, very, very impressive.
Yeah, she's tough. I mean, her sister Charlotte was also really great. So I'm not actually quite surprised that she's turned out to be the player she is.
Oh, you would lean on sister bloodlines.
Oh, of course, that's all it is. It's always the big sister. But, you know, she's a big that has guard skills and, you know, she brings the ball up the court. We played against her in the Rapid League and she was playing a little bit of guard in there too. So, yeah, she's really impressive.
Huge signs.
Sorry, Justin, but 200-point games, but on the road as well. And we've talked about doing the double and having to travel, but to have 2 on the road and have that kind of performance, that gives you a lot of confidence heading into the stretch, into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of scorers on our team, so I think Yeah, we feel pretty good on our offensive end, but as we mentioned earlier, there's some defensive things that we need to tidy up. And I mean, Pouakai shot the ball well too and got up to 90. So
well, let's go to that second game, because the Pouakai coming off what was a pretty comprehensive loss. And it was only 15 points, but they drifted back in the late stages. I thought the Pouakai pushed the Kahu for a long, long way here.
Yeah, they were tough. I mean, we tried to pull away a couple of times and they'd keep coming right back. And yeah, it was a game of runs and there were a lot of up and downs throughout it.
Casey, can I ask you about the season of Jasmine Dickey?
Well, she's putting it together very nicely. I mean, her athleticism, getting to her spot. She's got that great mid-range finishing ability, but can also get to the rim. I've seen her take advantage of a lot of players in those mismatches. When he finds that, she goes straight down to the block and puts him in the torture chamber. Has great physicality for her size. It's been tough because at times I think the shooting from the Pouakai has let down her spacing, and so that the defense have been able to sag. But the points that she's dropping with consistency, despite being the focal point of defenses, has been extremely impressive.
And very quickly, Miles, before we talk Rapid League, Amari Thomas, what a season! Yeah,
I love the. I've said it before to you. I love the duo with her and Crystal, and just the way I was like, how, you guys been working on this is like instinctive. She's an instinctive player. She knows her spots though as well. And as a guard, that must be really nice for you just to know she's going to be there.
Yeah, it is really nice to have a player like her. And I actually forgot to mention last time, I played against her in college when she was at UCLA. So we had kind of met each other before. And this league is actually just littered with Pac-12 players. I mean, Tera played against her in college.
Right.
Panina went to Cal. That's in the pack. Elise Hurst, Ashton Prechtel, they were in the pack at the same time. So, yeah, there's just a lot of talent all over.
Shorter flight from the West Coast.
Next stop, New Zealand. That's
but
exactly
also,
right.
I talked a little smack about your three-point shooting last week. 4 for 7.
Up and going.
Take that, Frank.
Up
Even up
going.
there for Casey.
Right, next time I'm going to point at you.
Yeah, do it.
Very quickly, ladder, here it is. This is what it looks like at the moment, headed into round 7. We know what's happening here. Kahu and the Queens, last year's grand finalists, making their move. Hoihoi have a massive weekend coming up. They do need to get another couple of wins, and it's all about the Pouakai and the fight.
Yep, agreed. Look, it's coming down to it. It's going to be those last two teams. The seeding doesn't matter a bunch, except for if you're the first seed, you get that longer break because you play the first game the first day, the second game the second day. So there's a bit of space in there. That's why maybe the top seed or the fourth seed is probably more important than any others. But when it comes down to it, we're all looking at the Phi and the Pouakai and what's going to happen when they meet later this season.
I also think the Queens want to do or don't want to meet the Hoihoi in the playoffs because the Hoihoi have got their number, obviously, like you said.
But one of the things in that matchup, it almost seemed to me that Ashton Prechtel had Maya Dotson's number down. With a new player coming in there, that matchup could change up because that was the matchup that they were consistently getting beaten on.
Yep. Well, Rapid League's been a lot of fun and we always love seeing the best bits. Sky Broadband Rapid League, Rapid Rap.
We kick the Rapid Wrap off this week with the Tokomanawa Queens taking down the Southern Hoihoi in Dunedin. The Kahu dominated the Phi in a huge 42-25 win in Tauranga. And late game heroics from former Queen Jacinta Beckley have the mainland Pouakai their 7th Rapid League dub. The mainlanders followed it up with another win, this time taking down the Kahu in Christchurch.
Well, straight out of the Rapid League and straight into this week's guest. And what a season she is having, ranking top 6 points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, you name it. She's doing everything. She's an absolute star of the competition. Would you please welcome to the show, Mikayla Cowling. Great to have you with us. Congratulations on your form this season. And more importantly, fantastic to have another WNBA star here in New Zealand. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, Mikayla, congratulations on the season so far. You're in that 5th spot, but anything can happen with the games remaining. You've got the Kahu last. Do you want to talk any trash to Crystal right now?
Get into it.
Do you want to say anything? Do you want to guarantee the dub? What do you want to do?
Just a little bit, but we'll wait until the back.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, how much are you enjoying the season so far? You're obviously not where you want to be as a team, ladder-wise, but how are you feeling like you're tracking at the moment?
I'm having a blast, honestly. That's part of basketball. You win some, you lose some, but the beauty of it is having that resilient mindset and continuing to show up, continuing to play for your teammates. So I'm having a really good time here in New Zealand.
Looking through your past as a basketball player, coming up at Cal Berkeley, you were noted as a defensive specialist. But as a professional, your offensive game has blossomed to an incredible level, really carrying a lot of that load for the Pouakai this season. What kind of work did you do, not just in your game itself, but mentally, to make that change as you became an import overseas and understood that that's what they're expecting out of you?
Yeah, I think when you go overseas, they expect you to get there and score kind of a majority of the points for the teams and kind of be that leader and fill that leadership role. So I think it's had a huge shift on my mentality of, I want to make sure we're in a good position team-wise, but also I'm handling myself in a way that's representing myself in the right way and helping my team best succeed the way we should be. It's just kind of one of those things, right? You go overseas and you're expected to have a huge load on, and I think that so far as I've grown and seen the different styles of play in Europe and here in New Zealand, I've had to kind of just realize, this is what I need to be doing, this is how I need to carry myself more often.
And obviously you have played all over the world and you could have chosen to play anywhere in the world. What attracted you to New Zealand and to come out here and bring your game out here?
Well, this is my first time playing a summer league. Normally, this is like my kind of like off time where I'm resting in between the European season. And this opportunity presented itself, and I was like, why not? I've heard really good things about New Zealand, and some players that played for Phi last season were reaching out and talking to me and telling me how great of an experience it is here, not just basketball-wise, but with the community and the city in Tauranga. So I was like, why not? And I wanted to give it a chance.
You got the Queens this round first up. How are you going to approach that game? What are you looking for in beating the Queens? Because these kind of dubs now, they really matter when the push comes to shove with only a couple of rounds remaining.
Right, we are kind of in a tight spot, but I think that maintaining ourselves and keeping our composure and still playing at the level we know we can play and not having that kind of pressure on our back, I think that we're still in a relatively okay spot, and we trust our game plans. We trust the pieces that we have. So now it's time to really just kind of lock into that and really showcase, what we can do to this league.
And of course, playing for the Phi. The Phi.
There you go.
As a squad, you've got one of the teams that probably has as much of an infusion of youth as any team in the league. And as a professional who's gone through those earlier stages of your career and are at a different level now, how much of your time in these practices are sort of spent training up these young girls and teaching them sort of a better way of doing things, showing them that professional level that they're hoping to aspire to one day?
It is strange. Practicing with 15 and 16-year-olds, but actually surprisingly they're very mature for their age. They show up and they do what they're supposed to do. They already kind of have that competitive nature, in their arsenal. So it really is just kind of leading by example and just showing them like, okay, this is what we do in practice. This is how we handle ourselves, and they kind of follow suit. I'm actually really blessed to have this group of people surrounding me and playing with me.
And as Casey said, you do have a lot of young players in there. Who has been like a standout for you? Who stood out of these young players that we can watch out for?
Pally, being a 15-year-old is incredible to see. In Rapid League, she kind of just goes out and just starts killing folks, really. And I'm really impressed with the level she's playing at. When I was 15 years old, I wasn't doing nearly the things that she was doing. So I think she's someone definitely to watch and look out for.
Well, Mikayla, it's awesome to have you. Just quickly before we let you go, as New Zealanders, we love the affirmation. As soon as you step off the plane, you're like, what do you think? Do you like it? Do you like us? So what will you tell your peers and your colleagues and your teammates, your future teammates, as you travel back around the world and hopefully return to Tauihi at some point? What will you tell them about the league? Because it's just in its second year, obviously. What will you implore others to do to come here?
I think New Zealand is definitely a place to come visit. Definitely, this league is amazing. I'm having a really good time, like I said before. It's definitely something I would love to be part of in the future. This is the place to be for sure.
Well, sounds like honorary citizenship on the way.
Love it.
Thanks so much for your time, Mikayla.
Love it.
You don't want to say anything to Crystal before she goes for that last game? time. It's do or die. She got the dub on the last round.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah, there we go. Fantastic. Mikayla, for me, most complete player in Tauihi this season. You're up there number one for me. And I've got to tell you, also leading the race, never stop smiling.
Yeah.
Have a look at that. Love it. Thanks for joining us.
There it is, huh?
Good luck. Mikayla
Thank you so
Cowling
much.
there. And, she's had a season.
Putting it together. I mean, her versatility offensively, defensively has been impressive, especially with the way that team's built. Not a lot of size on the interior, so she's probably had to play a little bit bigger than her ideal position is, but delivering statistically.
Crystal, fourth for points, third for rebounds, fifth for assists, sixth for steals, sixth for blocks, both ends of the floor. She has been, as I said, the complete player.
Yeah, she has. I mean, she can get her jump shot up over anyone, and it's a real tough matchup. I mean, she's bigger than most guards and quicker than most bigs. So, yeah, she's a challenge.
Love watching her go about her business. Round 7, here we go, because as you rightly said, we're at the business end and every game's so important from here. And in particular, we've got two teams that have a huge weekend, and they happen to be the two teams right now who look to be battling for fourth in the Phi and the Pouakai.
Yeah, that obviously that second game that the Phi have and the Pouakai have for that matter, that's the do or die almost. And those Rapid League wins, they really count for something. We've seen it in the standings because it's becoming a tight battle. So yeah, it's a big double shift for both teams, especially for the Phi. I think Mikayla Cowling will have more to say.
And in particular, because the last time those two teams met each other, the Pouakai took away all 4 points from that matchup, the win in Tauihi, the win in Rapid League. And you know, when I've looked around the league this season, it does seem like some teams have other teams' numbers, but don't have others. You know, there's just some matchups that some teams are struggling with. The Phi did get that early win when they scored a bunch of points late to steal it down in the Pouakai's home court, so they're going to have to look to regain that form.
How important is that game, Crystal? Pouakai and the Phi, they go head to head. Only one of them is going to get certainly the maximum of 3 points, and that could be the telling factor in the season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, they should be gearing up for that game. I know they both have some new players coming in, so it'll be a new scout and, yeah, potentially a whole new game.
Looking forward to it.
Are you guys going to score 100 points again?
Just goes,
Unreal.
Goes with the territory now, doesn't it?
That's the goal.
Well, I would like to ask you about the way things have changed a little bit. Previous to Tess coming in, you guys were one of the slower offenses in the league. You guys really grinded it out in the half court. How quick has this change come? Suddenly you're cooking with petrol and pushing that ball up and down the court.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can see everything Tess brings on the court, but it's also all those little things that she brings in our team huddles and in those timeouts and things like that that really get us going. And, you know, we're able to get more defensive stops, and with a guard like herself who can get out and push it and shoot it and everything like that, yeah, we're able to get out and run.
I think one of the questions I asked you about Tess coming in was who was going to play the one, because Tess likes to be on the ball, you like to be on the ball, but I think what both you and Tess have done straight away is you've instantly gone into that dual role, play off each other. It doesn't matter who brings it up, I know where to go if you've got the ball.
Yeah, and I think that probably speaks to our experience before coming into this league. I mean, you know, I love playing with Charlize, and me and her would kind of share the 1 and 2 roles. And I know Tess has obviously played in the Opals and WNBL, where she probably had to split those roles with different people. So it's just been awesome that we can take turns and, yeah, take a little break when the other ones bring the ball up.
Just finally, Miles, massive factor this weekend for the Pouakai and the Phi. Phi coming up against the Queens, as we know, that opens the round. No Maya Dodson. We spoke about that at the top of the show. And importantly, for the Pouakai, they've got a change in their forwards as well, with Nat Burton coming in, Natasha Mack unfortunately injured.
Well, as we've seen, when we bring players in, you can score 100 points. So for the Pouakai, who had 90 in their last game after having 65, it's going to be an adjustment period. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think if you're bringing bigs in, Casey, you've got to roll. You've got to get stops in the key, and you've just got to make sure you box out and rebound, surely.
And a lot of that has to do with how long was that injury being carried. You know, at times it looked like Tasha Mack wasn't quite at full strength. So when you think about that, is the fact just that you got an able-bodied player coming in and able to give 100% of herself at all times, will that lift by itself make up for the lack of familiarity?
Something was wrong. Okay, here we go. Questions. Let's lock in. Will the loser of this Sunday's Pouakai and Phi game miss the Final Four?
Yes.
Yes.
Pressure's on you.
Well, I guess yes. Stay with
Bulletin
the
board
trend.
material!
Can the Queens go back-to-back without Maya Dodson?
TBD. I want to see who's coming in.
Oh,
I got to see who's coming in.
I
I got to see who the talent is.
I say no because the Kahu are rolling.
Oh, look who's playing up to the top.
You want to answer this one? Or you are completely on the fence like this guy?
Well, you know, I can't have as much freedom to say I have to go out and actually play these games.
All right, no worries. We'll leave you on the fence. Will any team catch the Pouakai for the Sky Broadband Rapid League title? They've got 8 wins. The next best is Queens with 6.
I'm going to say no.
I say no too, because those Rapid League points are important for their standings in the Tauihi.
Unlikely. By the way, they've had 2 wins over the Queens in Rapid League by 1 point both games.
Oof.
Just at the Bakeley. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a great game.
Here we go. And I want to
Start here.
ask you, well, no, we'll go back to it.
Here.
Will the Kahoo lose another game this season?
No,
Yes or no?
No.
How many games we got left?
Come on, Case.
Is one basketball enough for them?
I always say yes because the odds are with me.
Will you lose another game this season?
Well, I'm obviously going to say no.
There you go. Hey, best of luck to the Tall Blacks, by the way. It all tips off this week. We wish them well. We'll talk more about that next week on the show. Hope you've enjoyed
USA
it.
looks weak.
Always fun, always plenty of laughs.
They only just beat Italy.
Get out there and support your teams. Round 7 of the GJ Gardner Homes Tauihi coming up. We'll see you next week on Sal's Hoop Heads.